which is like 45 miles, 50 miles, and drug Maine for an evening and then drove home.
At 14.
14.
That's the good old days.
Can you believe that?
Can't do that shit anymore.
Dude, if my kid will turn 15 in a week, actually Friday. But I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I would die
if he was on the road
of him driving. I mean, that'd be like the equivalent of him driving to St. George and like cruising.
You did it, let him do it.
No. Hard no. Yeah, no way. Different day and age for sure. Brady, welcome. You made it. You made it. They were making fun of your papers. Did you
Yeah,
get
what were all
those?
those papers?
Don't worry about it.
Omar was accusing you of killing trees.
Yeah.
There was a lot of papers.
The thing is, we live in a digital age, but I still enjoy papers, like books.
No,
Like, I'm thinking about.
Would have never guessed.
I'm
that.
thinking about potentially getting a Kindle for myself for like some Black Friday sale coming up, because I just kind of like the idea of being able to read books like all the time. Like I can take it super lightweight, store like hundreds of thousands of books on them, and be able to read. But I hate the idea that I don't have a paper book anymore to make notes, highlight like you saw my highlighters and my pen to make notes on. So that was just a PDF of the Utah.
The thought of
management
reading
plan.
a book gives me so much anxiety.
I love it.
I have a good book. Yeah, I love a good book. Like, and I like it in hand.
Yeah,
but
a physical book is
physical
like,
book in hand.
I
but
like researching stuff I'm interested in. I cannot stand reading a book.
reading books the best. That's
every
why
once in a while you find one that I'm like, oh, yep.
I don't reading a story. I can't get
The
on
hard
board
part
with
for
that.
me is finding time to read.
I love to read when it's like when I'm engaged in trying to learn something, figure out something I'm interested in. But
Yeah.
to read just a story,
But that's why the
give me
Kindle
the
though.
movie.
The Kindle though excites me a lot. For like any sort of e-reader, because I don't need to have a light source to read, because it has this light on like on the device, and so you can dim it, so you're not having to have like a lamp turned on next to you. Or I could read it in my camp.
Did you have a Kindle back in the day?
Never had
Everybody's
one.
had it. Really?
No, I'm
one.
anti-digital
I had
my
one.
whole life.
you think I had something for books?
I thought maybe you would have had a Kindle. Everybody had a Kindle there for a hot
never
minute.
did.
You
I want one.
thought I'm actually like kind of
They were all the
offended.
rage.
You
There
thought
was
I
one-
had something
There
for
was
a
one
book.
Christmas where everybody, I feel like the whole world got a Kindle. Everybody had a Kindle. My mom got
Everyone
one.
did it.
Yeah,
at one
everybody
point.
had a Kindle.
I did not though.
You've never had one.
So I've heard some things about the new color Kindle. Is not doing so hot right now. It was just released or pre-released, and then I think a few people are starting to get it now. It's not getting very good reviews. I'm kind of nervous. Might want to get the old black and white one. But the one thing I haven't researched yet, which I really want to do, is I want to figure out if I can put PDF documents on there. Like if I can put PDF documents to read like Utah Mule Deer Management Plan and like be able to scroll through it at night, or put all my biology like reports on there that I read all the time, like that to me, well, game changer. That'd be so much easier, because then I wouldn't have to print them off all the time. But I do like having them in hand, because it's easier than sticking on my computer and reading it. Then I'll just save it. I have a folder called Mule Deer Research that has so many papers in there that sometimes I get to them, sometimes I don't, because I hate having my computer in front of me to read those papers. I'd rather have something small or actually paper in my hand, because I don't have to have
See,
a
that's
laptop.
research. I can get behind that.
I didn't like reading on a Kindle. I'll be interested to see if you. I didn't enjoy it. It like turned me off to reading on
My
it.
girlfriend turned me on to it. She's been
all right.
reading it for a long time and using them, has plenty of different iterations of them. She says it's a game changer.
My
And-
problem is like I like a physical book, but I never go into a bookstore. And I mean, it's like
That's what
over-
Amazon started as. Just order them on Amazon.
I know, but then I don't go in and like read book reviews and like ordering a book online. The only time I ever read a book really is if I just like in passing, like if I'm in an airport and I'm like I'm going to be in Alaska for 15 days and probably going to be weathered out, I'll buy a book, or my dad gives me a book. But I never
See,
buy
my
a
favorite
book.
thing though, with hunting, is being disconnected and just thinking inside of my own brain.
Yeah.
I don't like passing time by that.
I
So
don't.
have you ever been stuck in a tent and wish
for-
you had a book?
Ever been stuck in a tent? Did you not hear about Omar and I's last time? I was stuck in a tent more on that than I was on any of the sheep hunts I've been on.
I bet you wish you had the Kindle app on your phone.
No,
to be able to read a book.
I love laying there. Like I genuinely love laying there, hands behind my head and just thinking in my own brain. Just
See, the
like
problem is if I stay in a tent and
running
don't do
through-
anything, I'm going to fall asleep, because I can sleep for like 14
that
hours.
you will fall asleep for sure. I don't fall asleep, and I love just watching the rain on the tarp and just thinking about all the shit that's in my head, trying to sort it all out.
I get
Where
that,
am
but I have like a time limit where I'm like I want to break it up. I want to read some pages and then do some thinking. But I get it.
That's my favorite thing about hunting, is just being completely disconnected, and
you
you
can be
just
disconnected all day.
all
but
the
then at
things
night-
that are just jumbled in your head, you get to
Get a chance
sort
to
them all
clear it
out.
out.
Yeah.
You're gonna think I'm kind of crazy for this. Most people probably will.
I'm there way beyond
Way
that.
beyond
Whatever you're about to say, I was way there before you read
the big
this.
hesitation in me about getting a Kindle or any sort of e-reader is that when shit hits the fan in this world, and we have another apocalypse. We don't even have had one, but we just have a mass chaos
A
going on.
zombie
We've had an
apocalypse.
ancient apocalypse.
Yeah, and then like all of a sudden, I can't charge my Kindle anymore to read. I can't read books anymore.
Yeah.
If the power grid goes out, all of a sudden I have all these paper books. I can still read books when the world doesn't become the world anymore.
You don't believe that we've ever had an apocalypse before?
I don't know. I just said something and I was like, oh, maybe that didn't sound correct. So I was just trying to cover my tracks. But like when shit hits the fan
Yeah.
and I don't know, something happens and we don't have
Brady
anything.
has quite a library in his house. Have you seen it?
No.
Sealed one of my books, by
I've
the
never
way.
been invited to
I do
Brady's
have.
house.
That's what
That
I
was
was
the Archery
I
one.
know it's sitting on my
starting to
my
take
coffee side table there
I'm
at my
starting
bed.
to take it personally. I've never been invited over there.
Do you want to rent a book?
No.
I'll make a checkout
I don't
list
know if
for
I've
you.
ever been invited. I just go over.
It's just
goes
go.
over.
Usually how this conversation starts is Brady's like, "Are you in Vegas for the night?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Where are you staying?" I don't know. I haven't really made plans. He's like,
Got a couch.
I mean, I got a couch if you want to stay. I'm like, really?
I did actually invite him over the other week, and he stayed at my house, and I didn't stay at my house.
I do remember that. I
yeah,
recall that.
He had the whole house to himself.
pad. Yeah, I started watching The Penguin. I told you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got like 4 episodes deep, and then then I finally went to bed. But yeah, Brady's got quite a library. Have you read all those books? You think?
Mhm.
Every one of them.
No, there's probably some I haven't. For sure, yeah, probably for sure some I haven't. That's the problem, like too. Like you said, the time thing. There's a time. Then there is books I want to go back and read. So I'm like, why am I going back and rereading this book when I do have new ones I haven't read?
My problem is I go to bed pretty early, and I go to sleep pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I might get like 3 pages then, and then I'm like, yep,
No.
lights out. So it takes a long time to read a book. The only other time I ever really get to read a book is an Antelope Blind, which is one of the main reasons why I like
See,
hunting from a blind.
e-reader.
I'd have to charge it.
Have you seen my second book collection? I have 2. So I have those 2 bookshelves downstairs.
Uh-uh.
And I have another one up in my man cave. And the one up in my man cave is all my collection of mule deer books. Like every single one. I
had
keep
no
them up there
I-
because that's
had
like
no-
a secret
I
place.
had no idea, Brady.
It's got
So
a
that way-
secret collection.
So I'm,
It's like your weird neighbor that his dad had like a Playboy collection under
Those were the good
out in the
collections.
shed.
so that's that way if someone's
Brady's
like,
secret collection.
someone's like, oh, I heard Brady has some books. I'm going to go steal his books. And they'll like steal those books downstairs, but they won't know where
The secret ones are.
the secret ones are.
Yeah, yeah. Makes
No.
total sense.
Not to change topics, I took the dog out on a run yesterday morning, and I saw some muleys rutting pretty good.
Like
So-
good rutting?
Yeah,
You're
Yeah.
saying it's on.
I'm saying these 2 at least were nose and
Yeah.
does.
My pops had a rifle tag in Nevada,
Uh-huh.
and he shot one on Sunday that was rutting.
Your dad shot one?
Had 4 does.
Your dad did?
Mhm.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Photo.
Good buck?
Great buck.
Really?
Yeah, really good buck.
That's
was
awesome.
with 4 does, which is awesome to see a buck like that on 4 does.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Weather really got him going.
No kidding. Yeah,
Yeah.
this one was like a 22-inch 4-point. The other one was like maybe a wider, like a 24, 25-inch 3-point, big, tall 3-point. But both of them were nose and does, 2 does apiece,
Gosh, I
Awesome.
love the rut.
getting after it. And I was just like right out of town. And then,
Oh, buddy.
oh yeah, great buck.
Great buck.
Yeah,
Like phenomenal buck.
yeah.
Daddy Rabbit.
All those town deer showing up though.
Are they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
For
This
sure.
one was clear at the top of a mountain all by
Really?
himself with 4 does.
it was.
I don't know which side I like better. I love the backs on the right. Love the fronts on the other side. Love that has eye guard on the one side.
He's got like a real bladed right G3 with a bunch of
Yeah.
cheaters.
Dude, that's a stud. Look at the body and neck too.
Yeah, it's a full blown
High
mature
shoulder.
ass deer. And that was with 4 does.
Huh.
It finally got cold here. Finally, out of
oh,
nowhere. It's been
oh,
hot
oh.
as hell, and then finally it got cold.
You see we have
bug.
snow on Mount Charleston?
Yeah,
I saw that when we were driving in
Yeah.
on Monday.
Yeah, it was cold this
finally.
weekend.
Yeah.
It was. I would say it was in the 40s, like daytime highs in the 40s, windy. It was cold.
When they took
Snow
off from
one
the
day.
truck, he said it was 22.
Oh man.
Dang.
Yeah.
I have been seeing more and more photos pop up. People have been getting after
Yeah.
it. Second season Colorado.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen some second season success.
A lot of like real.
Seems been
Just,
quiet though.
yeah, I've seen like a lot of just bucks.
I
You
mean,
know,
I guess
20,
the season
24
just
4
ended
points.
on Sunday, so it's like people are out all the time. They're just trickling back, catching up with life before they're like, that's the last thing I want to do is post to social.
You see the weather though?
It's supposed to
Coming
storm.
Oh man,
Get after it.
yeah. Third season it's looking real good.
So you're getting ready to leave Friday.
Friday,
You're going on a third season
OTC elk.
elk hunt.
Yep.
And you're going to see a giant deer, guaranteed.
This is the way it goes. None of us have a Colorado tag this year.
You'll probably only see.
You know how many
big deer?
You know how many third seasons? So I hunted. We all used to, right? Back with the second choice draws and all that stuff. I hunted Colorado third season for like 7 or 8 straight years. I'm pretty sure it was 8 straight years. You know how many of those years I was hunting in like 50, 60 degree temperatures, trying to make something happen?
Yeah.
And then this year is nothing but storm, snow, and cold ass temperatures.
Oh.
And it's the year that none of us have a
Do
tag.
you wish?
I can't remember the last time I did now. It's been a while.
I hunted Colorado for like 8 straight years on bouncing between those second choice units.
Yeah.
My only suggestion is what I say all the time. Like, so you guys are only going elk hunting. You will see deer.
That's the way it works.
Yeah. But the best thing you could do, I'm not just saying for my benefit, it might sound like I am, but mark all the deer locations.
Oh, of course.
The does, the bucks,
Of course.
future intel, even if it's not intel on that unit specifically, maybe that unit takes more to draw, but just like gaining that intel of where
Well, I could
bucks
draw
are
that
at
unit
during the month of November.
I could draw that unit extremely easy.
So that's what I
Well,
think
the
a lot of
two-
people miss that point about
Yeah.
like you're hunting a different species, you see deer like, oh, whatever, I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah.
But like take the 3 seconds maybe it takes, just drop a quick pin on like a
100%.
rough elevation band, rough habitat where they're in at this time of year.
Yep.
If it was snow driven, that could be good. And then maybe 4 years from now, the snow is the same again. And now you have
Correct.
good intel.
Yeah, so I could easily the 2 main units that like for logistics purposes, right? Because you can't. It's an OTC tag. You can hunt a ton of places. So first thing you got to do is narrow it down. The 2 places we have narrowed down to, I have not ever deer hunted in.
That'd be
so
cool,
I
man.
will absolutely be like that.
Yeah, gaining
That's
intel
going
on
to
new
be a
unit.
lot of my strategy is just gaining intel because I've never been in there deer hunting.
Have you talked to Scott? Scott's a tag holder.
Yes.
Scott, Brandon, Nate, right?
Yes.
You got 3 tags, and then you and Porter are going to be pack meals and help
Scott.
out.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Is Scott pretty stoked?
He has texted us. We have a group
thread?
chat.
Do you have a
He-
group chat name?
He named it. Yeah, Scott named it. I don't want to mess up the name here. Colorado Elk 2024,
Oh, that's a very.
and he has texted
I was hoping for
us.
something cool like his Air Force name.
He's a military guy.
He's
a
very
fighter-
straightforward.
He's a fighter pilot.
He's extremely excited. He texted us this morning when I was at the gym, and he sent a weather report. I go, oh man, the deer are going to be on fire. And then Nate said something about seeing a big buck. He goes, the deer energy in this chat is not what I want right now. So then we all had to switch it to elk.
You got to manifest it.
Got to manifest.
Big
it.
bulls only. Brady.
Yeah.
Has he been shooting a lot?
Oh yeah.
What's he taking? Do you
His
know?
Browning, I believe it's a 7mm. Browning
Gotcha.
Hell's Canyon. I think it's either a 7 or a 28 nozzler. I don't know. Plenty of gun either way.
Yeah. God, that's exciting.
He's a detail guy.
Yeah.
Though. He's like reminds me a lot of Brady. Like he's so dialed in with all of his gear right now.
Yeah, he's going to do great.
Yeah, he's going to be a phenomenal hunter.
Shout out.
I mean, his background is
Hunting.
efficiency, logistics, practice. Like that's the only life he knows is to be ready. So he's been ready to go for like 2 months now.
I'm pretty eager to get him back on after this
this?
talk. Yeah,
Yeah.
run through it.
I miss him a lot. Being able to come in the office all
I
the
know.
time, harass Porter.
He's such
If
a
he
good
moved,
dude.
It's,
Such a good
I
dude.
miss him. So yeah, hopefully
We got him a bow for his retirement. So we put this hunt together for his retirement and got him a bow because he's such an elk guy. We're like, you got to archery hunt if you are an elk guy. Like you just have to experience it.
Built for bow hunting.
Dude, he's had the bow for like a month. And and the whole thing's decked out. He's got the whole shooting set up in his backyard. He's dialed.
So next year will be fun for him too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, today I think we're going to run through, we'll hit promo here in a second, and I want to talk a little bit about Black Friday before we actually get going into it. I got some info people might be
I
interested
was talking
in.
about Black Friday earlier.
You were?
Yeah,
We've been
remember the Black Friday Kindle deal.
A lot of Black Friday meetings going on around here lately. But we're going to run through, we're going to talk about my mule deer hunt. So we kind of mentioned it on a previous podcast, but I have a mule deer hunt that I did last year in Nevada, and we're going to have a film for that kicking off the 10th, which is what, Saturday?
Sunday.
10th is Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah.
So this coming Sunday morning.
Chris Porter's birthday.
I was just going to say, I was looking
Yeah,
at the
that's
calendar.
right. Yeah, I always forget that his birthday is like just right there before mine.
And then yours is the 11th.
That's
Correct.
right. 10th, 11th, and mine's the 14th.
Yeah.
All
We're
good
all
things
right
are in
there.
November, Brady.
Agreed.
Sorry about
Wow.
it. Sorry about
Well,
it.
I'm kind of jealous.
September. And then November.
Yeah. We'll run through my hunt though and just kind of talk about it a little bit, some thoughts and how things went. Kind of run through and do a hunt recap. But I guess before we dive in and do that, we'll hit promos. So I'll hit promo this week. I always ask Brady to do it, but I'll do it this week. If you guys want to use the promo code podcast, you can sign up for a GOHUNT Insider membership. If you use that promo code podcast, we're going to give you $50 back in the GOHUNT gear shop that you can use towards the purchase of any gear that you want in the shop. My voice cracked right there like I was 14 again.
Did you
hear
talk
that?
about being younger, the 14-year-old kid driving?
Yeah. Yeah, that's like the one spot you
a
would
good
like
sign.
it to like continue to get better, you know, but over the years it just can't. It just continues to break. But what do you do? At least I didn't say Wisconsin, right?
Wisconsin. I already got
like
tore
you
up for
saying.
that.
Yeah, for the listeners, some dude DM me and he's like, every time you say Wisconsin, I guess they
gets-
say Wisconsin.
He gets pissed.
He gets pissed. He's like, I think the words he uses, it pisses me off.
Yes.
Which I appreciate. I love the fact that the way I say Wisconsin
Pisses somebody
pisses
off.
somebody off.
And I kind of really love those DMs because it shows that guys are really listening to everything.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's kind of cool.
That one made me laugh. I told him I would promise I would try to say Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
I don't know if I can. How do you say it?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
See, it sounds even stupider because I put the emphasis on the I. Wisconsin. It sounds worse. I think you should just flow
Kind of
with
does sound worse.
You could just flow with Wisconsin. It'd be better.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, use the promo code podcast. Get yourself a membership. We're gonna do another podcast. We're gonna talk some application strategy information. Kind of take a 30,000-foot view and then talk about our individual kind of strategy, the way that we look at applying. It's hard to believe, but like we're already creeping into it. And actually, I've been looking a ton lately, and I get as excited about it as I think about anything anymore.
Oh, I agree.
Like the unknown of like what I might draw, like maybe some random tag will just pop up, which we'll dive into with this Nevada hunt that I did. I mean, that was a completely random shot in the dark. It was 0.65% chance of drawing that permit. So like that looming, it's like what if is so fun.
Yeah.
Do you guys get that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
It's
love
the best. It's the best feeling ever.
Oh,
Love it.
I love it.
Playing the game. It's so fun.
Yeah, it is a game, and it's a riot. It's fun to play. It's always cool to like put your points towards hunts that you kind of know. You know, like okay, I'm
Yeah.
going to do that one. I'm going to do that one, and then like plan out your strategy and swing for the fences on others and just hope.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love application season. It's I don't know. I don't love it as much as hunting season, but it's close.
Dang
close.
close. Dang close.
It's fun. Builds that anticipation. Black Friday, yeah. So we have Black Friday coming up. I wanted to talk about it a little bit. So e-com dates. If you guys are looking at the gear shop, we're looking at like the 13th through the 5th. So you got a big window there where you should be able to do some Christmas shopping. We have some cool sub dates. So if you want to sign up for membership, we have kind of a cool thing going on. We're going to do like a random giveaway for 500 points or $500 into the gear shop to some random person that signs up. So I think that is pretty sick. It'd be awesome to sign up for membership and then win $500 to the gear shop.
Yeah,
It'd be fantastic.
It would be
Pretty baller.
freaking awesome. Some of the other big ones as I was looking down through here. So Sig Sauer. We love Sig.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You do? Oh.
You got your yeah.
There we go.
I randomly have a cigar. today.
Yeah, I was noticing you had that on today.
Team Tango Tigers.
Tango Tigers.
Tango Tigers.
Bringing back
If you,
bad
ain't,
memories.
if you ain't first, you're last, right?
And we were.
But yeah, shout out to Sig. They're a sponsor of the podcast. And I was looking, I love their products. Like the binos are awesome. They make awesome stuff. Rangefinders are awesome. Those are going to be 20% off on the 14th on my birthday.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So you guys could celebrate my birthday by getting yourself 20% off on Sig products in the gear shop.
And you also shot your mule deer buck with a...
I did,
with,
yeah.
But not only the sawtooth from Sig, but you had one of the Sig rifle scopes on there too.
I had a full Sig system.
You
I mean,
did.
my kid had the binos, but everything else, rangefinder, rifle, was
Our
pretty
two
freaking
favorite GOHUNT Groms, Bones and Jordan, they're helping. It's their friend or brother-in-law or something. I can't remember exactly who it is. Cousin on an elk hunt drew a really good Nevada elk tag because obviously being a resident, you never know. And he ended up drawing one. And we let them take our SIGs because their hunt is right before us going to Colorado. So we're like, yeah, just borrow them. They both came back and were like, this is it.
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, we tried to tell you. That's why we offered them for you guys to take them.
Yeah.
And they're all about it. They're
Have you
going to
guys-
be buying them.
Have you played much with the new ones?
Yeah. Been exclusively using the new ones this year.
Have you? You like them?
Like them a lot. The size is a little bit bigger, so like I have to have
The
larger
yeah.
bino harness. You know, the dual battery thing. I still haven't had to change battery all year.
Is it 2 AA's, 2 AA's?
Two AA's.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you notice? Like as far as
more light. So it feels like you're gathering more light in those low light situations. So that was kind of the only downside, I guess, to the older model. So the HDX Pro just enables more light gathering.
Gotcha.
It's just crispier too.
Yeah.
Better clarity.
Yeah. Like on this
And
rifle hunt, I'll be using those. But like when we were in the backcountry, it just, you have to go to the large bino harness. When I was archery hunting, I didn't want to deal with that. So I was using the small bino harness with the small 8s. But like on this one, late season rifle, I don't really care. So I'll be using those new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been really nice the whole year.
Right on. Yeah.
I still think there's a place for the old ones.
Yeah,
Sure.
for sure.
Yeah.
But like
100%.
the new ones, phenomenal for really long distance glassing.
Yeah.
Right on. I was looking through a bunch of other. I mean, there's a lot of other brands, and this is going to happen on different days. So you want to be monitoring the website. Check back to the website. Watch social media to see what brands and what items, products are going to be on sale on given days. But Sitka 20% off on the 22nd. Other brands that people might be interested in. Tricer. So Tricer tripods.
Yeah.
Pretty dope deal. 20%
Taking the world
off
by
on
storm.
Thursday the 28th. All kinds of stuff. Jetboil, Helinox chairs, the optics, mystery ranch packs, outdoor research, all kinds of stuff. Oh, there's actually one that I really liked. I wanted to know the 18th, the daily deal, the Hanwag Makra Combi, which is like a synthetic leather blend boot that I wore for a while and I really liked it. And I actually thought they discontinued it, but I thought we have some back in the shop. Those are going to be 50% off that day. So check that out.
It's a pretty good deal.
It's a
Yeah,
great.
who decided that?
I
50%.
Lane. No, I don't know who.
Who the hell decided
Adam,
that?
maybe. I don't know who picked that up, but yeah, 50% off on those on that daily deal on the 15th. Maybe
You're losing money if you don't buy
18th.
that.
Yeah, and that's a great pair of boots. I wore
Well, I'm
those.
telling you, I'm losing money by selling them. So who decided that?
I actually was looking at my employee discount, and I was like, I wonder if that's cheaper than my employee discount. I might pick up a pair on that day on that Black Friday deal.
That is a good
Yeah.
point.
Daily deal.
That's a good point.
Great.
Great.
Thanks, Lane.
Great, says Lorenzo. Anyway, yeah. Look for Black Friday. I was looking down through the brands and the sales and the different dates and stuff. It's going to be a cool event with a lot of savings and a lot of good gear. So check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys want to talk Nevada? Do you want to talk one? We're calling it One Good Chance.
One Good Chance. That's the title of your film, huh?
Yeah, Luke came up with that. Luke, shout out to Luke Duesenberry who did the filming and editing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luke's a stud.
Yeah, Luke's a good dude.
Hope he
And-
recovers really quickly.
Yeah,
I thought
no
it was a
kidding.
bummer.
Yeah, last time I
That
talked to him,
sucks.
he had his foot all propped up. Sounds like he tore some,
Meniscus, right?
Yeah, in his knee on an elk hunt.
Yeah.
And I guess he had to walk out on that thing. Like
Yeah, Nate Simmons was
lot
helping
of
him.
miles,
Yeah.
which sounded excruciating. But last time I talked to him, he had his foot propped up on the couch, and I said, "You doing all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, they're keeping pains managed." And then in talking to him, I was like, "You seem a little looser. Maybe you're on some pain meds right now."
Yeah, he was supposed to join me on my brother's elk hunt here coming up the end of the month.
Gotcha.
We had to make a little switcheroo, but yeah,
Yeah.
hoping speedy recovery for that guy. He's so talented.
Yeah, and a good dude to be with. That's the one thing you get cameramen, and a lot of them I've hunted with, but you never quite know.
Yeah.
And you're going to spend 10, 12 days with them potentially. And on this one, it was just he and I. It's always good to know that you're going to get along well with the camera guy, and he's going to be
For
willing
sure.
to do whatever you want to do. And then also the thing with Luke is, that the photography and the videography is going to be exceptional.
Yeah.
The guy's really talented.
He's just got a great style. What's that Loopold film he just came out with?
I don't
God,
know
what's
the
the
name of
title
it.
of that one?
Something-
Such a good film.
You
I'll
want to
pull
look
it
that up real quick? Did
Highly,
you guys notice our switchboard guy over here, Evan? He's got a mic now.
oh, I did not notice.
We're just playing with stuff, seeing if it works.
You have a mic.
I do.
Is
like-
it working?
It is.
I looked over today and I was like, hey, that's new. You got a mic.
Just
Only
try to-
took how long for us to pull this
I know,
off?
just try and increase the
2 years.
production value for
Yeah.
the listeners.
2 years only.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you find that, let us know.
Yeah,
Some point.
that's
Straight and narrow.
Straight and narrow.
yeah. That's a Luke film through and through, and it is phenomenal. Highly suggest people going and watching that Luke Bolt film.
Yep. Luke came up with the title "One Good Chance," and I think it was probably from. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I've always felt like on an archery hunt, you're probably going to get one good chance. And
Yeah.
I think at some point during that hunt, I probably said that, like, "Oh, there was my one chance."
Yeah.
And I feel like bow hunting's just tough. It just feels like you really got to capitalize on those opportunities when they come up, because it just feels like you're probably only going to get one.
Well, it just feels so impossible at times.
It always
When you're
feels
walking around with a
impossible.
bow and you're like, yeah, how is this going to happen? It literally seems impossible. And then out of nowhere, one good chance shows up.
Yeah.
And then that's when it happens.
Yeah.
I've never been on a bow hunt where I felt like this thing I'm trying to do is never going to happen.
Yeah.
At some point in every hunt, I've been like, I'm wasting my time. There's
Yeah.
no way. And I think if I didn't have those in my back pocket where it had worked out, there's probably a lot of hunts I just give up on,
Yeah, for sure.
because I think it's impossible.
But that reward, though, when it happens,
Yeah,
it feels good.
pays off. Yes, what do you guys want to know?
I want to know every little detail about this hunt. So, like you were talking earlier.
I want to know everything too. I got a shitload of points in Nevada,
Yeah.
and I'm a resident.
So let's talk about. Obviously, we already said the state, so I'm going to say the state now and feel like I'm okay to talk about. You had a Nevada tag. You said it. You broke the ice.
Yeah, I'll say where if you want.
'Cause, like everyone always thinks like okay, so everyone always says Nevada is
northwest corner of the state, northeast corner of the state.
Everyone always says Nevada is like kind of not worth it to apply as a non-resident because your chances are pretty slow or pretty
Low.
pretty low. And you beat the odds, so it's like, do you think it's worth applying in Nevada as a non-resident? And like obviously you set up your app strategy to apply for multiple species in Nevada to make it worth your hunting license. So like
That's a good question.
obviously you got lucky, but like, is it worth it as a non-resident to apply?
Yeah, and that's a question I get asked every year, is like Nevada worth it? Because it is kind of expensive. As a non-resident, if you apply for any and all species, you're probably going to be into it like $250. You have to buy the hunting license.
Yep.
So, I mean, you're invested, what, 155, I think?
Something like
160 maybe. And you're out of pocket. You're not get that back. And then when you look at draw odds for Nevada, it can be pretty intimidating as a non-resident. You just think,
Yeah.
this what's the point? But here's the thing with Nevada for me is I think arguably it's the best elk hunting in the West, I would say. At least top 3 and probably
Yeah.
top 2. And I love elk hunting. So for me, the dream is to eventually at some point, draw an elk tag in Nevada. Sheep be damned. I don't care about them, but eventually I would love to draw a Nevada elk tag. And I don't know that I ever will, but that's kind of the dream. Just the quality is there, and the hunt, low pressure, fun hunt. So for me, that's the dream. And if I'm going to chase that, I'm going to buy the hunting license. To me, it makes sense for the minimal application fee for the other species like antelope, deer, bighorn sheep, California bighorn.
Yep.
I can apply for all of them for pretty minimal fee. So yeah, for me, it makes sense. And then the other thing is I'm primarily a bow hunter. So if I can draw an archery antelope tag or an archery mule deer tag here and there to kind of limp me along, like keep me in the game and applying for sheep and elk, I think it's worth it. And reality is for mule deer, and the way that Nevada's draw system is, I love the fact that it's a random draw with a bonus point, right? So your chances get better over time. But I like the fact that they give you 5 choices, and I can stagger my choices. So I can swing for the fences with a first choice, like I did with this hunt. And, I can apply for easier. And I thought when I applied for this hunt, I thought I had probably drawn my 4th or 5th choice because it was a unit that I had like 40% odds. So yeah, I do think it's worth it.
Yeah, because you always have a chance in a way, but like depending on how you stack your odds, like
I think Nevada's definitely worth it.
Yeah, I think it's totally worth it. They don't give a ton of non-resident deer tags, but typically there's pretty decent quality when you do draw tags, similar to elk. And then, like I said, I think it's worth. It's like we talked about earlier, that like dream, that like hope and the fun in it. To me, it's like, I mean, I'd spend $240 on tons of bullshit that I don't need, you know?
Yeah.
So I'd rather apply and have that hope of drawing a tag. So I think it's worth it. I think it's a state that's like on the fence for a lot of people, but I think it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then, so you said you staggered your application.
Mm-hmm.
Did you draw? What you said was
I drew my first choice.
You drew your first choice.
Yeah, and it was a last day application, so like last hour, last day.
Yeah, so you're on
Typical.
top of the stack. That's the way that works.
Yeah. I used to try to apply very first, like first day, first hour, get it out of the way so I didn't forget. And I've gotten lackadaisical, I guess, in my old age. Just sometimes I'll last day, last hour, you know.
So are you going to be superstitious now and do last day, last hour?
I think I
from here on
might.
out?
Yeah, I think
that's
I
what
might.
I would do.
Yeah, so when Nevada draw results came out, everybody in the office, they always check because you guys are Nevada residents, right?
Yeah.
So you guys have reasons to check because the chances of you guys drawing some tags are a hell of a lot better than they are mine as a non-resident. So, yeah, I usually like wait for the Slack messages start to pop up on what people drew, and I don't really worry too much about it. So it was like midday, I think, by the time I checked, and saw that I'd drawn a tag, and I was like, yeah, I drew my fifth choice, you know, cool. We'll at least have a deer tag in my pocket. But when I saw I drew my first choice, I was pretty shocked.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it was 0.65% odds.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then you get the wheels turning like, oh, what could I have drawn?
Yeah, exactly. What should I have applied for otherwise?
What should have been my first choice?
Yeah.
You know? Because reality is, it was a good hunt. Yeah, it was a good hunt. I mean, it was a fun hunt. I didn't see the quality bucks that I'd hoped to when you draw a tag like that, but it was a fun hunt and a good hunt. And it was like one of those tags. I think it's cool that Nevada does this. There's not many states that do. In fact, I'm trying to think if there's any. You probably know off the top of your head, but states that do late rut archery hunts.
Idaho,
maybe. You know, Arizona has their OTC thing, but that's like, you know, an over-the-counter tag with a quota
archery
system.
only. I mean, you could say like extended hunt.
Extended maybe on the Wasatch and Utah, but like to actually have a hunt where there's very few people in the field,
Yeah.
and you get a chance to hunt rutting mule deer with your bow.
And you don't have to compete with rifle hunters. Like you could do it on like, you know, Montana in general, but you have to wear orange and you're competing with
Yeah,
that.
this is a straight up
bow hunt only. Yeah. It's like
with a
it's
lot
very-
of deer and in peak rut.
I thought it was this cool opportunity, and so over the years, as I followed along with Nevada in my applications, I've often applied for those hunts in the mix of my 5 choices because I always just thought it'd be fun, you know, to hunt deer in the rut with a bow.
And the nice thing is too, so you got draw results in late spring. You get a lot of time to plan and prepare for this hunt. To like do a bunch of e-scouting. Like what was your plan after you got the tag? Like how'd you approach like trying to figure out where to go? Like a logistical side of this, because it's a new unit to you.
Yeah. So I read the comments. Obviously, you go to the unit profile page within my Insider account, read through the comments. Pretty typical research, you know, read through forums, threads, read the biology report from Nevada Game and Fish. I think those guys do a pretty good job actually, like identifying areas within the units. And they're loose, you know, it's like, hey, check this mountain range or what, but it does give you like little bits of information, like, hey, this, like for this unit and specifically, it was, you know, this is like a migration mule deer hunt. This is a migration area. So the hunting gets better with weather. So the colder, the more snow that you get, especially in the 2 neighboring states, the better the hunting will be.
Is that because there's not a lot of resident deer population?
Deer, yeah. And then from there, I went to just like looking at maps. And once I started looking into the actual unit on my GOHUNT maps, I could see that like, oh, okay, yeah, this is like, it's like Moonscape. It's open. I mean, it is open, big country that's just. And then the other thing I noticed right away was like there's roads and trails everywhere, which isn't my favorite type of hunting, but it is what it is.
Yeah, so it's a late season hunt with roads everywhere, so it's not like something you can like, hey, we're going to go hike really far away, maybe backpack in, get away from roads and trails and people. There's just roads everywhere.
Yeah, I would say almost, you know, every major range has a road to the top, roads along a lot of the ridges, roads in the bottoms of the canyons. I mean, the rough roads, granted, but there's roads, like roads and trails absolutely everywhere. And I noticed that pretty quick on the map, which to me is like not my favorite type of hunt to be honest, because
Yeah.
I just don't like road hunts, you know, where you're just cruising around glassing. But it became pretty apparent right away that a lot of the time was going to be spent behind the windshield.
Yeah, it's gonna be the best strategy for that type of unit.
Yeah, until you find a buck that you want to hunt. And then once you find a buck, I felt like, okay, I can hunt that buck, but I felt like at least I showed up, I think, a day and a half prior to just like do some scouting, look at some roads, actually see the area. And then, you know, the plan was I've got like 10 days here. I'm going to spend the rest of this hunt really just like combing in the unit and trying to find one buck to hunt, which is fun. And that's how I like to do it. But yeah, roads and trails, not my favorite. A lot of windshield time. I got to know Luke real well.
Yeah, I bet.
A lot of conversation, and it was cold,
So
cold, windy.
leading up to the hunt, then what were the weather conditions?
So no snow, which sucks because obviously you want some snow
Yeah.
for a couple of reasons. You want those deer to like stand out against the snow and get them moving. So that sucked. No snow whatsoever. But I would say like daytime highs in the 40s, maybe probably 40s, and then nighttime's down in the 20s. So it's cold at night, but like no snow in the forecast. And it did finally snow like the last day, I guess. But yeah, it wasn't like I wasn't super pumped about the weather.
Yeah.
And these season dates, were they late November?
Like mid-November. Yeah, like right when you would think like heart of the rut,
Yeah.
which they were running for sure. I mean,
You saw a lot of deer.
dude, the first day, so Luke couldn't come, I think, until like opening day of the hunt. So I was there like a day and a half by myself, just like looking at country. And I think by the time he showed up, I think I'd seen 60 some bucks
Yeah.
Already.
That's a lot.
already.
Whoa.
Yeah. I bet I'd seen 200 deer.
Wow.
Like, I mean, a lot of deer. Like,
That makes it fun.
Oh, it was a riot.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and this is like one of those hunts where it's more of that type 1 fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't so trying in that like I'm busting my ass and like physically wearing myself out. It was more of that type 1 fun.
Roller coaster fun.
Roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, you drive around, just it felt like any moment you might see a giant buck. And that time of year, kind of my strategy was just to cover as much ground as I possibly could with my vehicle and glass, and then find a buck, and then just keep checking back on those doe and fawn groups, and just hope that a big buck showed up, because it did feel like any given day you'd be like, oh, there's a buck I've never seen before,
Yeah.
And I would talk to other people. I ran into maybe 3 or 4 other guys on the hunt. Everybody's kind of doing the same thing, cruising, and those guys are the same thing, like, oh yeah, I saw a buck I had never seen before yesterday, or over here. But that makes it fun.
Yeah.
Walk me through the strategy of being mobile on that hunt. So like you're kind of like carrying camp on your back in a way. Like you didn't establish a main base camp with your truck and then drive around and then come back to that base camp every day. Basically you're carrying your camp every single day in the vehicle, and then pretty much wherever you ended up that night, you were saying in the film, you just camp right there in hopes there was, if there's deer in the area, you'd camp right there, or drive somewhere else where you thought there was deer and just camp there. Like you never established a main base camp. Like what was your reasoning there? Just to be able to look across the entire unit and not be restricted to driving back and travel time, or
I just and gas. I
Yeah.
mean,
the waste of gas.
I don't know if people know, but Nevada, there's not a lot of gas stations
No,
around.
there's not a lot at all.
Like I took 2 5-gallon fuel canisters, and I think I filled those up once or twice, at least, probably twice during the hunt. And yeah, there was a lot of times I was just like, God, I want to kind of conserve some gas. I don't want to have to drive back to a base camp. And I was driving a lot of miles. I think I want to say it was like 600 miles
Really?
on that
On
hunt.
those roads?
On
Holy
that
hell.
hunt. Yeah, like I drove a lot, like drive glass, like look into every little nook and cranny, park, hike up to a little knoll 200 yards off the road, glass it for hour, and then, jump back in the truck and keep rolling.
Yeah.
Because and the thing about that country is it's so big and so open. It felt like you could see a lot of country, right? And a lot of it's super similar from north to south. So I felt like, there could be deer in the far north. There could be deer in the far south, east to west. It just felt like there was no one area where I was like, okay, maybe one area I felt like I could probably, cross that off the map. But it really felt like I just need to cover as much ground as I possibly can until I find a buck that I'm like jacked about, So yeah, mobile camp, drive. That, and then like I'm not like a big wall tent kind of guy. I don't have one.
Mhm.
They're kind of fun when you got a group of people, you know, but just me
Yeah.
and Luke, I thought I was like, yeah, we can just, you know, what do they call that? Dirt hippie guy. What do they call that? You see,
The van people
yeah, like the van people.
living out of their vans. I don't know.
Dirtbag.
What do they call that?
Dirtbag camping.
Yeah, dirtbag.
Dirtbag,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Yeah, dirtbag. Yeah. So it was like a test in patience though. Like there's a lot of days I was just like, ugh, this is hard. This is harder than hiking.
Yeah, I think it's very hard mentally to stay
Mhm.
focused all day, especially driving around, vibrations of the vehicle, you
Mhm.
park, you have the heat on, you're nice and warm.
Well, then every time you pull out your spotter too, it's like every time you're doing it 100 times a day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then you get lazy and you're like, do I really even want to check that group?
Yeah.
But it might might be the one group that like you do need to check.
Yeah, the thing about hunting that time of year, November, and you've mentioned it before, but there's a lot of times you'll glass deer, like you'll see a group of does, right? And you'll throw up your binoculars, you'll look at that group, you'll kind of scan around, and you may not see a buck, but until you like really get out and pick apart, you know, the whole hillside,
Yeah.
you see the buck, like he pops up, you know, but he may be 200 yards, like kind of
Bedded.
off, you
Yeah.
know, bedded off on his own midday. And it felt like, yeah, constantly, like you're constantly pulling out the spotting scope, picking across the whole hillside once you find a group of deer to like really evaluate and see like, okay, where is it? Because you know, every group of does has got a buck.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you don't see the buck, you're like, I know you're here somewhere. So you
There
might be
somewhere,
sitting
he's
there for
got
an
a dim
hour,
light.
just
Yeah.
like, okay, where are you at? Where are you at? And then you find him finally, and you're like, okay, that's not the buck I want. And you
Yeah.
know, keep moving. So it's like, yeah, it's like real mentally. Just like I went to bed every night tired,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of days I'd be like, I haven't walked 800 steps today, you know, like no,
But you're still exhausted.
but like completely spent
Yeah.
from bouncing around and then just in and out of the truck, glassing.
Yeah. One thing I asked you when I was watching the film, because I obviously don't have a vehicle like you do. What kind of vehicle do you have? The Forerunner or what?
Forerunner, baby.
Yeah, so it's like fully enclosed. And it's like you mentioned, you had 2 gas cans, and your gas cans in your vehicle. Your clothing's all in your vehicle. Obviously, you're bow hunting. So I asked you, do your clothes smell like gasoline ever from like having your gas cans inside your vehicle when you're refilling it, putting that gas can in there, or is it a mute issue?
I don't think they did.
You know what I mean?
I just think you get good gas cans, you know?
Because I saw the one time you grabbed a bunch of sage and like rubbed it
Oh,
on your
yeah.
hands and stuff like that, and try to do little things to minimize it. But like,
you get gas on your hands for
but
sure.
like, your clothes never smell like gasoline. You don't think?
I think I wore the same clothes the entire time, but I probably had some backups. I just put those like one of those little Yeti Pangas, which still look pretty decent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really buy too much into like the whole scent thing.
Me
Yeah.
either.
Just play the
Good
wind.
wind.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you get gas on you, you're going to smell stronger than you would otherwise. Maybe not, though. I don't know. I've had some pretty bad BO at times. But yeah, I mean, you got to play the wind no matter what. It doesn't matter.
If you get the wind right, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and just get some decent gas cans to fill up, Brady. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you got to do. But yeah, I didn't notice anything with gas. Forerunner's not ideal, I wouldn't say, but it's kind of nice in that when you go on a hunt like this, like I have a buddy that has an Arizona elk tag that starts here at the end of the month, right? One of the first questions he asked me yesterday when I was talking to him about it, because I've hunted that unit, was he's like, hey, did you have anybody mess with your camp? Anybody, any break-ins, any issues with your truck? And that is one thing that I like about the Forerunners, that I can just lock everything inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about anything getting ripped off, and I don't have to move everything in and out of the cab, which I think I've been hunting with you guys before, where you stop at a store or something like that. You're constantly moving all your
Taking
gear
everything
in
out of the
and
bed of the truck,
bed.
putting it inside.
Bunch of shitheads out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love the Forerunner, and it'll go anywhere. Although it did get stuck one time.
Ooh.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Bad?
Yeah, like I wouldn't have got it out.
How'd you get out?
I had a guy in a Jeep pull me out with a
luckily came by?
with a winch.
Where'd you?
We met this guy. He's a local. He's actually a sheriff's county. He's a deputy sheriff, I guess. He was hunting also. We got onto this road, and I was asking him about a road that went down through the bottom of this canyon. And he's like, it's real rough, but he's like, I'm sure you'll be okay. He's like in a little short, short Jeep,
Yeah.
winched, everything. He's like, I'm gonna head down there anyway. He's like, if you want to just go down there and look at that country, he's like, you can follow me down in there. And if we have any problems, I could probably winch you out. So he went down through this real steep wash. It was like real small gap, and he went down through it, kind of angled up and picked his way up and out of it. And then the Forerunner was just too long. The wheelbase was just a bit too much, and I got that thing completely wedged like a bridge.
Right across.
I mean, right across. Yeah, you could have walked right across the top of the top of it. It was, stuck. I had the ball hitch completely buried in the back end, and then the front bumper just wedged in there. And
nice.
He came back and pulled me up.
Sometimes that's a little tip thing. So you said you kept your hitch on there in your vehicle.
Yeah,
I've had that before when I had a F350. I had a hitch on and went down a little wash, came up, and because the hitch was sticking out so far, it actually got me stuck. And so after that, I started to like, okay, in some of those places where it's really canyon-y, rocky and stuff like that, I take it out so I don't get wedge myself in, because it has, for whatever reason, that long wheelbase of an F350, and then going down and up, it just buried me right there, and I had to take like my axe and a bunch of shovels and try to like dig out all the stupid clay stuff to get it out. But
speaking of shithead, somebody did steal my hitch
on that hunt.
Not on that hunt, but at some point in the last 3 months, somebody's jacked my hitch out of my Forerunner.
Man. I can't stand that.
That's
my ball hitch.
Like that.
Can't
I know.
stand it.
It was one of those nice ones that had the different adjustments, the different
freeway?
balls. Yeah, sucked. Yeah, somebody jacked my hitch.
Karma is gonna get him.
Got my flatbed trailer stolen from here, from the office.
And the jumping jack?
And the jumping jack. It's ridiculous, dude. There's so many shitheads.
That's the worst.
And I have it all on camera. You do all the security shit. You know what I mean? Pay all this money for security. Pay all this money for all this stuff. Yeah, can't find them. Like, okay. So what's the purpose of all these cameras and alarms and all this shit?
Is it that, like, in a city the size of Vegas, there's just too much going on to even like put that much effort into it?
Recently, yes.
Really?
This is not how Vegas was.
Used to be.
Yeah. But recently, yeah, it's a joke.
Because it seems like, we had some people break in the office at one point, a couple times, and that was kind of the answer. It's like, we'll let you know if we hear anything. And it was just
call your
like,
insurance.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Here we go.
Yeah. Dang. Anyway, I did get stuck pretty good. But the Forerunner generally, I recommend it. I like it.
Yeah. And like Luke was just sleeping in his vehicle, right?
Luke was sleeping in his truck. Yep, in the back. And it never did get cold enough that I had a stove and like I had the teepee, I had a Red Cliff and stuff just in case we needed to fire that up, but it never got cold enough. Like I never went to bed at night freezing.
Do you think it would have been noticeably better if it was colder with snow?
It's hard to say because
we saw so many deer. So like how would it actually change it?
How could it be better or different? Because, and that's the thing. The deer were rutting. You know, like those does were in estrus. Like there were bucks with those doe groups. So I don't know. I don't know that it would have been any different, to be honest, if you had a bunch of snow. Maybe it'd be better glassing. Maybe you'd be able to see some of those bucks easier. But it's not like you had a hard
still ended up seeing them though.
Yeah. I was still seeing deer. And you'd think those bigger bucks, had they been there, they would have been with those does and fawns, which I just wasn't seeing. A lot of 24-inch 4 points. A lot of. I think I came back and I told you guys I saw a lot of weird bucks.
Yeah.
Like crab clawed. Just funky deer. Yeah, a lot of real funky looking bucks. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what it was like on a year where there's a lot of snow.
Like super cold, lot of snow.
Super cold, lot of snow would be interesting to see if it pulls something else in.
Yeah.
The weird thing about that hunt and that unit, that was the first year that they had an early archery hunt. Normally they don't in there. And I kind of heard through the rumor mill that there were some bigger bucks in there on that early, like that August hunt.
Huh. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, down low. Like low country, big deer. And I don't know where they went.
They got killed or just seen?
Just seen. Guys,
so they should still be there.
Guys scouting. Yeah, and I don't know. Think about mule deer, and especially you get into that northern end of the state of Nevada, it's just like there's endless amounts of like rolling sagebrush and PJ and burn, and it just goes on forever. And, mule deer, they can move right through that.
They have a knack for finding the one spot.
Yeah. Yeah. They may have they could have moved 2 units over and been rutting does.
Yeah, it's true.
with no hunt going on.
Yeah, wherever they felt like it, you know what I mean? But it never got old looking at deer. That was
Yeah.
one thing. That was always fun. You always felt like you were in the hunt. It was like every day you felt like it could be the day you find something big. So it was good. It was fun.
How many stocks do you feel like you went on?
So probably like 5, but I think 3 of them were the same buck. I did end up finding a buck. The one day I decided I wanted to go all the way to the northern end of the unit. And that's kind of the rumor mill, is that a lot of those deer will migrate out of Idaho, like to the south end of Nevada. And I made a trip up there. And one nice thing, there was nobody up there, like nobody. I didn't see a soul. And I pulled up onto this little knoll, and right away I could see a pretty good buck chasing some does at the top of the ridge, kind of down the hill from me. And then they kind of went up and over the top and worked their way down into this little ravine, and I pulled out the spotting scope, and there's actually 2 bucks. And that's when I saw that one buck. So that buck was the best buck I'd seen, you know, in the day and a half of scouting, and then probably like the first 3 days, I would say, of hunting. And he wasn't a giant by any means, but it was big bodied buck, and some extras. Like he had some little tiny inlines that kind of like little tripod points, you know. And he was a buck I'd have been happy with for sure. And so he was the buck I think I put 3 different stocks on. And I put 3 on him. I put 1 stock on another buck, which we can get into, which was kind of just a stupid mistake on my part. It was like a miscommunication with the camera guy. He thought the buck was one place, and I was pretty sure it was another. And I got lackadaisical, but yeah, I'd say 5.
Yeah.
5, maybe 6.
Obviously, you probably could have gone more, but you're probably being really selective on your stock opportunities, or just like you see a buck, you're going to try to go after him, or because you might not be there the next day because of the rut. Like, how is that kind of working in your thought process?
One day there was a buck bedded with, you know, maybe 10 does, and he was bedded right on the crest of this little ridge, and I worked down the backside of him, and man, I could have walked right on top of him. Like I could have been on, he was bedded with his does. I could have popped up right over the backside, and he was like a 20, maybe 26 inch buck, decently tall, nothing great for forks. But yeah, there were definitely many stocks that I was just passing up because it was just like, yeah, it's early in the hunt. You know, I don't know when I'm going to turn up, and I don't know. I look back on it. Maybe I should have tried them all. But the thing about going on a stock is you might spend, 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's a short day in November. You might spend all that time working in on a buck that you're not necessarily in love with, when that's time I could be out
trying to find one
that I am.
And the percentage of getting close probably could have been pretty poor, but you're like, oh, I'm just going to do it anyway. But then you're wasting time.
Yeah.
Yep. So I didn't get real serious about it until I found that one buck with the extras. And first day we saw him, he ended up bedding. He kind of bedded in this perfect little nook. And he had probably, 10, 12 does, I would say. And he had 2 little bucks with him, and he was in a great spot. And then for some unknown reason, I have no idea why, they all just got up and decided to head out. And they walked up and over this little sage knoll, and they worked through the next valley. And I made a loop up on them where I could look across the valley, and I watched them go up into another little nook that was kind of on the other face, and there was some aspen and mostly sagebrush, big tall sagebrush with a little group aspen. And he was actually in a pretty good spot for a stock, and so I made a loop on him, and I came in around on top of him. And if you watch the film, you probably see I've got my pack on, I've got my boots on, and inevitably somebody's going to be like, oh, I always take my boots off, and I'm going to be like, high five.
Yeah.
Good on you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the wind was blowing pretty hard, to the point where your footsteps were almost a moot point, which is not going to come through really probably on the film. But wind was blowing pretty good, and I didn't know exactly where that buck was bedded. I couldn't see him from when I left. I just knew that he was bedded somewhere near this clump because I pretty well lost him. I guess part of this too, we also I saw these 2 bucks fighting,
hard.
I mean, getting after it, getting freaking after it.
That's awesome.
And I was like, oh dude, those 2 bucks, two points. And
Really?
and I mean, they were. I have some video of it. I'll show you guys. I think we posted it the other day, actually.
yeah.
But yeah, those 2 bucks are 2 points.
Huh.
I mean, getting after it.
Good for them.
Which I was like so let down when I saw.
That they were 2 points.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, this is my ticket. This is going to be 2 big bucks. I'm going to get a chance to see this thing that everybody always wants to. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
2
bucks
big
fighting.
mature bucks getting after it. But yeah, 2 points. But yeah, I kind of looped down on top of those deer, and as I came just up and over, I was like at a point where like, okay, I'm gonna roll my pack off my back and like try to cut the distance to where I think this buck is. I look down below me, and one of these younger bucks is on his feet, and he's broadside maybe 60 yards, and he got a little bit wiry, kind of looking around, and then the other buck stood up, and he was kind of looking around too, and they were working in underneath me. And it was like I couldn't take my pack off because I got 2 deer that are up, and they're a little bit aware of my presence. Not totally on to me,
Yeah.
but they knew something was up. And so I just kind of had to leave my pack on and, make do. But then the wind eventually just kind of swirled and shifted, and that big buck stood up at 80 yards, 70 yards, and just bailed. And at one point, I remember sitting there watching him. He goes out across the sagebrush valley and walks probably 35, 40 yards behind my truck. Parked in the valley.
Classic.
Walks
Right by the truck?
walks right past it. Yeah, jumps the fence within 100 yards of my truck, and then walks past my truck and goes up and over the top.
That's one of those things
Wow.
where the buck was probably thinking, I'm going to mess with trail here a little bit and show him that.
There's a lot of
I knew
times
he's there.
I think they're like that. I think they're just like, oh,
You're here, so
You're
I'm gonna walk
here,
by your
so
truck
I'm
there.
Yeah.
I'm going to just throw this in your face and
Yeah.
walk right by your truck.
Ugh.
Just to add insult to injury. But yeah,
That
I
was the
made
first stock on him.
first stock on him that night. We actually kind of had some lunch and then got back up and over onto the side where he went up and over, and I went back to the original glassing point. I ended up glassing him up that night, and he was bedded 100 yards off the road, like in some sagebrush, and there was kind of a cleared off area up to the point of where he was bedded, and like no cover, and the wind was blowing in a direction like I couldn't go around behind him. So I just walked right up the road, literally, which had a pretty decent, it was like indented the road, up against the hillside. So I was just using that for a little bit of cover. And then I got to a point where I got down, my belly, and I belly crawled. I actually belly crawled up to like 110 yards. And then one of the does stood up and busted me. And it was kind of a half-ass attempt, but it was just like, God, hunting that time of year, it's like you just never know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, if you watch the film, you'll see how dumb a mule deer can be in the middle of November. But
Yeah. It is true though. Like you never know.
you never know.
If you could just
they might
walk
just lay
right
there
at
and
him.
let you crawl up to
Exactly.
within range. But yeah, but it was a fun day, fun night. It was fun to find a deer that I was like excited about, and so. That night we camped close to there. We were there the first thing in the morning, and he bedded in the exact same spot he had the previous morning.
In those trees.
And those kind of in that same little nook. Yeah. And I figured I'm going to sit here and watch him for like an hour just to make sure he doesn't get up and go again. So I watched him for probably an hour, and I was like, okay, I feel like I can make a stalk. So we went around the backside of the knoll. And again, we came in, the wind was whipping pretty good. I felt like I had the wind in my favor, but it was rolling pretty good. And the hard part about hunting that time of year with your bow is just there's so many eyes and ears.
Yeah.
It's like 10 does, 12 does. He's got 2 little bucks with him, and he's kind of like in
the middle.
in a wad,
Yeah.
he's laid up right in the middle of them. And come around the hill, and I had a 2-point and a spike stand up, and they were probably 10 feet.
Oh.
I mean, like right in front of me, and I stood there for probably 35, 40 minutes, just dead still, hoping that Luke could hide behind me. Luke's a big, tall guy. He's about 6'4". I was just like, I don't know if this is going to work out, but if I stand here long enough, maybe they'll go back to feeding. But eventually they got nervous and kind of trotted back to the main herd, and then they all jumped up and took off running. And they went up and over the ridge. So I let them clear, gave them maybe half hour, an hour. And then I popped up on top and glassed down into the next big canyon, and I picked them up again. And they were basically bumped, but I mean, it hadn't caught my wind.
Yeah.
And then obviously he's got those does that he's there with. And so they were just in that next big ravine, and I waited for probably 2.5, 3 hours. They were just kind of feeding, and they end up bedded back down again. So I once again make another big giant loop around on them and come in from the top. And we popped into this little canyon, and 2 does stand up. I look at them, they kind of bugger and go the opposite direction, but I don't see the rest of the herd. So I was like, oh, that's really weird. That turned out to be 2 different deer that were just completely on their own away from the main herd. And I made another loop kind of back around where I could look into the next little slot canyon. And I was kind of creeping along across the top, and I just caught some movement, and I could see him like down below, maybe 80 yards. So again, it's like, I didn't expect them to see them so close, because previously they'd been further down the hill. So I didn't expect them to be up as high as I was. And when they're 80 yards, it's like, and I have no cover, it's like I can't slip my pack off, because I'm going to make a bunch of noise. And so I just kept my pack on. I got down on my hands and knees, and I crawled for probably 30, 40 yards. And at one point he went down to check 2 or 3 other does, and I started, put my binoculars up where I could kind of see, and I started picking up does that were closer to me. So I think I had 2 does bedded at like 35, 40 yards. So I just kept thinking, he'll come up. Yeah, he'll come up to check those does. So I thought if I just sit real tight, don't move, just get ready to execute a shot. When he comes back up the hill, I'll be ready. And he came back up the hill, but he came in just like dead on, like dead straight. And I think he came into 50 yards, but he's just staring right at me, And at that point he was like, oh, it doesn't look right. It's like 2 big lumps over there on the ground. And I think I told Luke at one point, I'm like, this is about to blow up. Like we're hosed again, Yeah. And they did. They all jumped up, but they rolled around underneath me, like just under the lip of the hillside, and they rolled underneath me. And so I took 4 or 5 quick steps out to the edge to where I could just see underneath it. And I went to my knees, and they wrapped right underneath me. But they were kind of going through some sage and some brush. And then they came out just on I could see it looked like they were going to pop out on the other side of this little ravine. And so I pulled out my rangefinder, and I ranged, and it's 61 yards. This little gap between these 2 bushes, and I'm like, that's the most likely spot that they're going to head through. So I'm waiting, and here comes the does. Does go right through the gap, and the buck comes up last, and he comes up just right through these 2 little bushes, which I just ranged. And he does that like classic mule deer stop and look back, because he doesn't really know what's going on. And so I was shooting a slider. That UV slider is a double pen or triple pen, but it's like on a single post, right?
The vertical.
Yeah, vertical post. And so made a yard adjustment, I think, and drew back and felt great, leveled out. I think I've watched the film back. I think I was, maybe 8-9 seconds before the shot broke. So it was like everything went pretty good. And executed a shot, and he did that like classic mule deer kick, And I was like, oh, sick. Yeah. When I watch this film back, like one of the things that kind of breaks my heart is the video of after that shot going off. Like I kind of look back at the camera, and I'm like smiling.
Yeah.
Like I remember this like feeling of like elation, like, oh yeah, man, that worked out. I got that buck, and I made a good shot, and he's down. He reacted exactly like a well-hit buck reacts. But I watched him, and he kind of went across the face, and he went up on the skyline of the next little ridge, and he just stood there, and he was just standing there. And I thought, oh, this is going to be even better. Like I'm going to get to watch him tip over right there, know exactly where he's at. But he didn't, and he walked over the edge and disappeared. And golly, still felt like I'd made a great shot. I was just like, yeah, it's a dead deer. So I talked to Luke. One of the good things about this is it's a good thing about having a cameraman is that you have the ability to go back and like look at your shot.
Yeah.
So like Luke and I sat there. So we probably sat there for 35 or 40 minutes looking at the footage. And the ability that they have to go frame by frame. You can watch your arrow actually in flight, spin, and watch the actual impact. That's a good thing about having a cameraman.
Yeah, for sure.
And looking at the video, I didn't feel that great about it because I could tell that it was far forward, like forward of where I thought it was.
Wind or what was it?
Could have been wind. I mean, the wind was coming up the canyon. I don't know. Could have just been a bad shot. I definitely can tell you that, like, I remember leveling out, so I don't feel like it was like a third axis issue, and I shot my third axis in and checked it at home, so I didn't feel like it was that. I don't know, it was probably 4, 5, 6 inches, I would say, right of where I was aiming. And we went down eventually and picked up the arrow, picked up the 2 ends of the arrow, so it'd gone clear through, and then he broke it, and I had both ends, and decent blood, but it was red, bright red blood, no bubbles in it, definitely. And I knew on the film, like, I knew it wasn't gut shot or liver or anything like that. And picked up blood, and there was enough blood to follow. And again, at this point, it's probably been 45 minutes or an hour. And just following blood. And I get to, like, the last place that I saw him standing on that horizon. And I look down the hill, like down in the valley below me, and I can see him, and he's just walking across the valley. He's just, like, walking. And I was like, geez, this sucks.
Yeah.
I watched him go all the way down the valley. He dropped off into a wash, and I thought, yeah, if he's hurt, he's probably going to go down there in that wash and bed. And so I just stayed on him and snuck as quietly as I could, hoping that I would get down there and get in a spot where I could see him better in the wash. When I got close to the bottom, about that time, I look up on the other hillside, which I was like, there's no way he's going to go up that other hill because it's a pretty decent, big, steep face. And I look up on the hill, and he's just like going right up the ridge, going right up the face. And it was starting to get dark.
Was he still with Doze at this point, or all by himself?
No, Doze had split off. Yeah, so he was by himself. So I knew he was hit. Like, I knew he was not feeling great.
Yeah.
Obviously still on his feet. So I kind of hiked back up on my side where I could get some perspective, and I could look across that whole face. And I watched him go clear to the very top. I watched him come up out of some, like, canyon country up through some little ledges, and then he started out across this big mesa, which is the top of that next ridge. And he just, on a beeline, he's just walking out. So got dark on me. Pretty shitty hike back to the truck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It just sucks. Just sucked. And then I went back to camp that night.
The GOHUNT roller coaster.
Yeah. Luke and I sat there and looked at the video, and I probably watched that 50 times that night. Trying to make that shot better.
Yeah. Did you pull it up on a laptop?
Yeah, put it on my laptop so I could see it in full size. And I sat there and watched it, just trying to talk myself into, like, oh yeah, it's fatal. He's going to be there in the morning. He's going to be there,
Yeah.
Didn't sleep that much that night. Didn't feel great. And then we were right back there in the morning, first thing. And I went to the very last point that I saw him, because there was, like, this distinct little alley, between two rocks where I'd watched him go up. And got up to there, went to that last spot. Found a few tracks, no blood. And that big giant mesa was super open. Luke and I spread out, and I spent probably 5 hours gridding the top of that, and nothing. I couldn't turn up any blood. It was rocky enough at the top, but I couldn't really find consistent tracks to follow. And then after gridding the top of that mesa out, I walked clear to the other side of the mesa and kind of tried to figure out what I thought was the most likely spot that he might have gone off. And I sat down and glassed for probably another 2.5 hours. And nothing. Couldn't find him. That was an even worse hike back to the truck.
Yeah. That
sucked. And at that point, I was just like, I'm going to kind of just go back and gather my thoughts and kind of figure out what I want to do. And it was weird. We drove down the canyon, camped. Not camped. Actually, this is the day we actually jumped the bucks. Was the next day. So got down the canyon, and then I was just like, I'm gonna go look at some mother country. And so I turned off onto a road, and we were probably 3.5, 4 miles from where I'd hit him. I'm driving down the road, and it's like one of these, like one of these Instagram videos where a deer just like jumps over your truck,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
blows over. Like I saw one yesterday, I think, where this fawn like clears a 9-foot gap, just over the road and clear off into the borrow pit. So I'm just driving, and all of a sudden I see this deer just like explode from my right, and he just 2 bounds in the road and then just like straight up the other hillside. And I look out my windshield and I'm like, that's the buck. I was just like, what the hell? That's the buck that I'm looking for. Like, that's the buck that I shot last night.
That far away.
And I was like, no way, that can't be. But I was, your mind is like, there's no possible way. But then I'm thinking, I know for a fact that was that buck, because I could see his extras. And I grabbed my bow, jumped out, and got on his tracks, and I tracked him up to the top of the hill. And then I kind of lost the tracks again. Just got like super rocky, and it like poured out into just like this big sea of PJ. And then there was also that big valley was mostly private, big giant chunk of private that sits out in the middle of that valley with all that PJ. And I hadn't found any blood like when I was on the tracks. So then I went back to the truck. I got back to the truck after I've kind of lost him. I went to the other side of the road, and I found like some blood, just like speck or two, and it was completely random. It was the weirdest thing ever to see that buck that far away.
Yeah.
The day after, but then also it was really relieving to also just know that
He's
like
good.
He made it.
Yeah.
Like he was healthy as a horse. I mean, on his own still, which obviously he's not rutting dough, so he's probably not feeling fantastic. I realized that he's probably hurt, but man, like covering ground, acting totally okay.
Yeah.
So it was kind of bittersweet,
Yeah.
Honestly, I think I told Luke at the time, I was like, it was like a little bit of a blessing, to be honest, just to know. Because a lot of times you hit an animal, if you hit an animal and you don't find it, you never really know, right?
For sure.
It sits in your it's like this monkey on your back that never goes away.
Yeah,
like
eats
at you forever. Yeah, Brady.
Yeah. That's why I quit bow hunting.
Right. Yeah.
Because that experience I had, it was just the worst feeling I could ever want anyone to have.
Yeah, like you never really know, but this felt like a little gift to get to actually see that buck again and to know that he'd made it, and he was covering ground and acting like a deer and doing, I think at one point I said he's doing deer things. So, yeah, that was it's kind of a shit deal, but
Painful.
Kicking the nuts.
kicking the nuts. And it kind of took the wind out of my sails, to be honest, because I think at that point I'd been maybe 5 days.
Yeah.
And my oldest boy was a senior in high school, and November is obviously like kickoff for basketball season. It was like his, kind of final season for him to play basketball. And I felt like every game that I missed was like, oh, this is like one less game I'm going to get it, because he's not going to play again. I'm not going to get those moments back.
One last dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, only without the good ending on his season. But it was just kind of left me pretty deflated. I think that evening I told Luke, I'm like, let's just drive to town. Like, I'm going to drive to town, get some gas, get some Mountain Dews, get some like shitty gas station food, and try to put it behind me. But that's kind of what we did. And then after that it was just like, I have a hard time giving up on any hunt though. So it wasn't like I was like, okay, I'm done, I'm going home. And I know inevitably, like, we put this out, it seems like every film that somebody puts out where an animal gets hit, people love to pass judgment.
Favorite thing to do.
Yeah, which I get. I mean, it's okay. I mean, I understand that everybody has a different value, and some people think that, any hit or wounded animal is like, you should punch your tag and go home. And I get that. I understand it. But I don't think that that's like it should be everybody's way of doing things,
I agree.
And the one nice thing about
a lot of gray area.
Yeah. And the one nice thing is that I knew for a fact where I'd hit that buck, and I'd also seen that buck a full day later.
Yeah.
I could tell that he was doing okay.
Good.
Yeah, good to go. So, I made the decision to keep hunting. I know that people that have talked to me about this hunt, they've asked the question like, why didn't you go back and hunt that buck? Like, why didn't you just stay with that buck? And I've often wondered the same thing. Why didn't I? Part of it was just like he went into this gigantic sea of PJ. I didn't think my chances of turning that buck up were very good, given the fact that he'd covered 3.5, 4 miles, in the night. And then also there was like this big hunk of private, and I'm like, if he gets out onto that private, it's a lost cause anyway. So I guess if you watch the film, that was kind of the decision making behind that whole process. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's
Such a
tough.
Heartbreaker right there.
Heartbreaker. Yeah, it sucked.
And like the scene leading up to the shot too is like the footage.
Oh, I'm captain of the team where you get epic footage and then I make a shit shot. I'm captain of that squad. I don't know what that team's called, but that's me. Lastly, in the last couple of years, I'm that guy.
Hunting's hard.
Yeah,
It's not always black and white.
I've talked to you guys in the office. Like I've really struggled with the bow the last 2 years for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I went about 23 years with almost no issues, maybe one that I could remember. I had a spike elk the second year I was bow hunting and didn't find it. But for 22 years, like no problems. And the last couple of years I've hit some animals and not found them. And it's got me reevaluating absolutely everything in terms of gear and shot process and bow hunting in general. Kind of like you. I think you've been through that. So I'm sure that you understand that. It's had me like thinking really hard about it. And I'm not giving up bow hunting because I guess I'll throw that out there right now. Like I love it too much. I love shooting a bow and arrow, but definitely has got me thinking about process and equipment primarily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
It's part of it though.
I know.
This might be a really shitty analogy, but like injuries in football. Like there's so many injuries in football right now and everyone's talking about it. It is just part of the game.
Yeah.
Like no one's out there maliciously, unless other than the shitheads trying to break Matt Stafford's leg, but purposely on film, you can see that. But for the most part, it's like, it's just part of the game. Injuries happen. It's the same thing with bow hunting. Like I said, this could be a shitty analogy, but it literally is just, that's what bow hunting is.
Yeah. Yeah. The one like little piece of solace that I have is that I don't feel like I've taken any shots that I felt like I couldn't make or I haven't made many, many times
And that's
before.
that's the main thing,
Yep.
right? And that's why it's gray area and different decision making for different people. And if you feel comfortable, that's on you. That is your personal decision. You're not doing anything illegal or not doing anything wrong. Like personal decision.
I don't feel like I've taken super long shots. I mean, the longest shot I've taken is, maybe 60. That buck was 61 yards. I feel is completely within my makeable ethical range. I shoot a lot. I didn't rush any shots. Like I don't feel like I've done anything wrong as far as shot selection goes, but and I hear you. Everybody you talk to is like, it's part of the game. And I know that.
Yeah.
I talk to enough people that I know that it happens. Like there's a certain amount of wounding that happens and I know it.
But then there's levels in wounding though too. There's the fatal wound or there's the muscle wound or there's right. Like there are levels within that too. Like 2 wounded animals are not the same.
Yeah.
And this isn't, this is my latest experience with a bad shot was on an elk in Colorado, over the counter elk in Colorado. It was a great bull, but I hit him back in the body cavity, for sure fatal. And I'm like, okay, I know for a fact that is for sure fatal.
Sure.
I'm done until I find that bull, and we found him 3 days later.
Yeah.
Thank God for coyotes and birds. But it's just one of those things where like I knew for a fact that is a fatal wound without question.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an assessment that has to happen.
Correct.
Based on all the evidence
Correct.
that you find. And like I said, I was fortunate enough to have a camera guy, and I knew exactly where he was hit. He's hit forward of the front leg, brisket, maybe a little bit low.
There you go.
One thing I would tell
That is
people,
not a fatal wound. That's where that gray area where you start to connect the dots and figure it out to make the best decision possible.
Yeah, one thing I would tell people, and I think we've probably said it before, but like before you go on a hunt, especially a bow hunt, man, download as many pictures of animals' vitals as you possibly can. Like it'll help you immensely in trying to figure out what happened, especially if you don't have a camera guy. Like just the evidence that you can gather from blood, your arrow, what you remember from the shot. Because in that moment, at least I do, my mind gets jumbled.
Everyone's does.
I feel mush in those moments.
That's kind of what's cool about that target we have with the quiver
art.
Yeah,
I agree.
Like you can be able to visualize it. You can screenshot some stuff about what an arrow does when you go in this way, and like have it on an album on your phone to reference on a bow hunt.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's awesome. It comes in really handy for sure.
Yeah.
The rest of the hunt, like the next couple days, we just covered country looking. We ended up seeing a pretty good buck. He was bedded in a great spot, like under this rim rock. And I sat there and pulled out my GOHUNT maps. I zoom in, I go across the topography, and I find this little nook. I'm like, yep, he's bedded right there. I drop a pin, and I'm like, this is where this buck is. So cool, Luke. Let's jump in, let's roll. We jump in, we take off, we drive back around the backside of this ridge, jump out, and we start walking across this big plateau towards the edge of this rim rock. And we're walking along, and I remember pretty distinctly, like I'm beelining out to this point. The wind's blowing in my face. I'm like, this is a done deal. Like, this buck's in a great location. Yeah. And I'm like beelining, marching, and I hear Luke whistle from behind me, and I turn around, and he's like, hey, where are you going? I was like, that way. I'm like, that buck's bedded in this little nook, And he's like, oh, let me look. So he pulls out his phone, and he's like, I have a different point. He's like, I have a point over here. He's like, I'm pretty sure he's back here in this little nook. And so I pull out my phone, and we're going back and forth, and I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, oh, Luke, I really feel like he's over here. And Luke's like, I really feel like he's over here. And I was like, well, that's kind of on the way, I guess. We'll go through and we'll sneak through this little nook and see if he's there. And if he's not, we'll go to the next one. Well, in the meantime, like we had two other bucks kind of come out behind us, and they're with does, and they go across the plateau and dive off the rim rock, which doesn't help your psyche, because I'm like, oh, there's already some deer that have been spooked, So I'm like, whatever, we'll go check it out. So we walk over towards where Luke's point is, and I get stealthy and I sneak down through this whole little basin, this little nook in the top of the rim rock. I creep through it, and there's like no buck, So then at that point, like I got head games going, I'm like,
thinking he's gone.
I'm like, he's probably gone. Those other bucks ran probably within 300, 200 yards of him, and they were gone. I'm like, this does look very similar to what I was looking at from the other direction. So I'm like thinking, yeah, that buck probably did leave. And, but then like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go over to the next one. So we'll go over to that one. Already thinking that he probably wasn't there. So I just got super lazy, and I'm just like walking, I'm being quiet, but I'm like standing up, I'm like not taking any extra precautions, and I'm creeping along, and then like all of a sudden he just stands up, and he's 35 yards. He just like stands up, looks at me, and then bails out to 80, and then turns around, standing there, and looks at me at 80, and I drew on him. I moved my sight. I drew on him and leveled in, and it was just like windy and blowing around. And I was like, nah, it's not a shot I can make. And he peeled off and went up and over the ridge just like he was supposed to. But I mean, it just goes to show you go with your gut. Your gut.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of never give up too.
Yeah, never give up.
Yeah, you think a deer's gone, you still push through the stock like you normally would.
He was literally 35 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
Yeah, like right underneath me.
So if you'd have kept going slow and
did
like
you have an arrow knocked or anything?
Oh yeah, I had an arrow knocked, but he like literally stood up, like
and
he
looked right
at me, and then gone.
Yeah,
and then trotted out to like 80, and then turned around and kind of just stood there and looked at us. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how many stalks on deer I've blown because I was convinced that they weren't there anymore, and I gave up on it early. I didn't treat it with I don't know what the word is, the respect, I guess, that every stock should get. But that one really sucked. Like that one, it wasn't a giant buck by any means, but it was just like that buck was in a perfect spot.
He was there. Yeah.
He was right there. And he was right where I thought he was. And obviously not even trying. I got to 35 yards if I'd actually tried.
Yeah.
And I'd have like crawled in and kept a low profile and put my binoculars to use. Like there's no doubt I would have found that buck and just waited him out. So that one really hurt. And I think in the film, you probably hear me saying like, I know better than that. I keep wondering, like, what age do you think you're going to get where you just like legitimately stop making stupid mistakes? Like
Never.
this?
Never.
It's
Yeah,
never.
We're humans.
Because hunting is one of those things where you can't possibly figure it all out all the time.
You have to figure
do
on the
get
fly
tired.
too. There's a lot
You
of
do
things
get
to think about.
Yeah, you get mind numb, you get tired, you get deflated, you get like there's so many emotions and roller coasters and variables. That's why I love bow hunting more than anything. Is like you literally can never figure it fully out.
Yeah. Yeah, every
Just
year
one of
I'm
those
like, I'm
things.
not going to make that mistake. I'm not going to make that mistake. And then I make some other stupid mistake that's equally as dumb.
Yeah.
You know what you need to do is take all these little label makers or something like that and write all these stupid little mistakes on,
Put
on your
them on-
bow limb and on your riser. And
That'd
just
be
be like,
negative reinforcement. I don't like
It's like,
that.
Yeah, don't want that.
finish all stocks, level bubble,
I don't like that.
stay mentally strong. Just like all these different sayings on your bow so you can like just.
I
boom,
just
zone.
be sitting there reading the back of my bow the whole time.
Yeah.
Then you'll be going slower.
Yeah. I did make a dumb. It was a dumb one though. That one really pissed me off.
Yeah.
I was like legit really pissed. I walked back like pretty much in silence. So I was kind of pissed at Luke.
Yeah.
But then in reality, I was like, why are you mad at him? Like he was just trying to help you out with the best intel he thought he had, you know?
yeah.
I'm like, if anybody's at fault, it's you dumbass. So, yeah, it was pretty deflating. Spent the next few days just like cruising. I kept going back and checking doe groups, and it felt like it was like a stage in the rut where the bucks were kind of had checked and moved it on. So it was like bucks that I had in my back pocket. I was like, okay, that buck is always with that group of does. I'll go back
They
and
had
kill
moved
him.
off.
Weren't there.
Yeah.
So then I was like, this sucks. Like I'm not finding those consistent bucks. And, I just was covering ground. I was passing up stocks on bucks that I was just like, yeah, it's just a buck. Wouldn't have been super happy with. And then got to a point in the hunt where I was just like, this is kind of it. I think this is it. Like I had my chance. Like I had my one good chance on that bigger buck. Obviously made a bad shot. Didn't work out, and that sucks. But it's just something I'm gonna have to live with. And my kid had a basketball game, and I really wanted to get back and go to that. And like I kind of made this decision, like, okay, I'm gonna get up and hunt the morning, and if I don't see anything that is a good stock opportunity, a sure thing, like I'm gonna head back to camp, pack up my stuff, and try to make it back for his game.
This is the last day.
Last day, yep. So I gathered up. I pretty much had everything ready to go. I went out in the morning, made a big loop. It was snowing that day, and it was really pretty. I remember that, like big snowflakes, like hitting the windshield. And looked at some deer. Nothing really kind of came together. Nothing I was really excited about. And then, I was like headed back to camp. Like I was within 4 miles of camp. I'm driving through this canyon bottom. I'm just driving along, and I look out the left side of my window and I see some deer run across the road, and they go down through this big wash and pop up on the other side. And I turn to watch them come up on the other side, and I look up on the hillside, and there's like really nice buck standing there with like 5 other does. Like he'd probably already come across. And I just pulled over and I told Luke, don't move. I literally just said, don't move. And I reached in the back seat and grabbed my bow, and I went around the backside of the truck and I dove off into the wash. And I think this happened so fast. I don't even know that Luke has any. I don't think he has any video of me like actually diving off that side and going down into the wash. Because once I went into the wash, he couldn't see me.
Mm-hmm.
So I went. So internet warriors are going to be like, "Oh, you just walked right up on him," which, and I kind of did, but I was able to cut a lot of that distance just by going up the bottom of the wash. So I walked up the bottom of the wash and I popped up on top and ranged him, and he was like 60 yards flat. And I took a couple of steps up, and he took maybe 1 or 2 steps back, and just anchored in and made a great shot. Almost identical yardage. In reality, probably a tougher shot uphill, maybe 10, 15 degree uphill shot, and made a great shot.
Perfect shot.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't have drawn an X on that animal. In fact, it was such a good shot. As soon as it hit him, I watched him kind of cut across the hillside, and I turned back to look at Luke, and I make the motion like he's down. And he wasn't even down yet, but I knew he was down.
Yeah.
Like dead X'd. It was like that classic, sucking sound of like an arrow going through an animal right where it's supposed to, you know. But, and I was excited. Like I was super pumped. It was just like it was a nice little gift that I didn't anticipate and completely didn't deserve, and just worked out right at the end of the last day. And I have a knack for shooting road bucks. I don't know if you know that or not, Brady.
I do know that
Brady
about
knows
you.
I know that.
I wish I had that knack. That'd be fantastic.
It doesn't happen all the time, but it tends to happen to me more than I think it happens to like other people. And I've killed some decent bucks. Like that buck's like probably like a 160 buck. He's not a giant by any means, but he's a nice 4-point buck.
With a bow.
With a bow. One of the better bucks I'd actually seen. I'd say it was probably like the third or fourth best buck I'd seen on that hunt. And then, I killed like a mid-80s buck one time with my muzzleloader in Utah right off
With
the
the
road.
radio still going.
It was almost identical. The doors were still open on both of them.
Love it.
And I had to laugh like in the video. There's one point I pop up out of the wash. I'm talking to Luke, and it was just funny to me because I jumped back in the driver's seat and we're sitting in the driver's seat. He's sitting next to me, and like I can look over on the hillside and buck's laying there dead. And I was like, oh, I guess I better move the truck out of the road, So like I had to move it up and out of the road and then walk over there and take care of the buck. But from I ranged it actually, so from where the buck went down to my truck was like 68 yards.
Even better.
Even better. So got some pictures. I did quarter him up because I'm like, where am I going to put full deer in a 4Runner?
Exactly.
Yeah. Kind of happy.
It's easier than trying to drag it.
That-
Trying to
yeah.
like you always think, oh, it's just short distance. No, quarter it every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree.
I just threw it. Yeah,
And a
quartered
deer
it,
too. It's so easy to quarter.
So easy, and it's better meat care too.
Yeah.
Like,
quartered it and threw
keep
it in
clean.
a cooler. I mean, I could have dragged it to the road and thrown it in the back of a pickup, but where I had a 4Runner and a cooler, I
Yeah.
might as well just do that.
Yeah.
But I made the drive home. It was fun. It was like fun reflection, It was like a little light at the end of the tunnel, like a little gift right at the end of the month that you didn't think.
Did you
was,
make the basketball game?
I did.
Even
Nice.
better.
Yep.
Did they win?
No.
Did he play it?
Yeah, he played pretty good if I remember
that's
right.
all
But
that
yeah,
matters.
we didn't get many wins that year. But he had a decent year personally. But yeah, pretty tough year as a team. But it was just fun. Like I don't know. I think like those misses on those animals. An animal that you hit and don't find. I don't. At least me anyway. Maybe some people process it differently, but like I don't know that they'll ever leave me. Like
I don't think it does.
I look at that video of that buck often. Like I'll be randomly, looking through pictures or whatever, or I'll go to show somebody a picture of a different hunt and I'll see that video. I'll go back and look at it and watch it. And I don't know, man, it just sticks with me. It sucks. Even though I think that buck's fine. He's probably breeding does this year.
Yeah.
That might be a fun field trip. Maybe we ought to run up there and see.
Go see.
Yeah, go check them out.
It was
Hey, buddy.
right about this time of year, actually, so not that far off. But I'm sure he's good to go. But man, it never feels good. It just like
No.
lives with
No,
me.
it doesn't.
It's like an equal memory in a bad way to the ones that go well,
Yeah. Absolutely.
in the opposite direction. So yeah. Anyway, good hunt, fun hunt. The film. Hope you guys get a chance to watch it and.
It's coming out November 10th.
November 10th. Yep, that morning. Give it a look. See what you think. And if you got questions or criticisms,
Which they do.
bring them on. I'll take them. I'll hear them out.
I'll try to help you out too. And if I see any, I'm just going to reference people. Hey, check out the podcast.
We can
listen to the whole story.
We can add them to what is it? The text,
Mean tweets?
Mean tweets.
Mean tweets,
Yeah,
yeah.
mean tweets. We can add those to that.
I mean,
I have
hopefully
some of
don't
those
get
stacking up on me too, which
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah, and I try to look at it from both perspectives. Like I understand. I can like already anticipate the things that people are going to say, oh, you should have just stuck with that buck. I get it. You know what I mean? I made the decision to move on. One, because the location, I didn't think the chances of finding him were very good. Two, there was some private land. And then three, this is probably not going to be real popular, but I honestly kind of had this feeling like the experience with this buck, like it happened. I felt like it was over.
It's closed.
I just felt like it was a closed door on it.
Yeah.
I felt like I felt closure. I
Yeah.
felt like this is closed with this deer, and I don't know how to explain that other than that's how I felt.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people, might not feel that way or understand it, but that's how I felt in that moment.
Yeah. At least yours will be about hunting. Mine's just about me as a person. all my mean tweets. So that's great.
Yeah.
We can probably throw some in there with my voice cracking. Like, what is this guy, 12?
Yeah, what is this dude?
Yeah. Anyway, this is going to come out when? Thursday?
Yeah.
Thursday. So, yeah, a couple more days after you can watch the film.
Mm-hmm.
Today's election day,
No.
isn't it?
No, today is NFL trade deadline.
Oh, I thought it was election day.
No, it's NFL trade deadline. That's what's today.
Yeah.
That's like the main thing of today.
What do you guys think tomorrow's going to be like? How are you feeling?
Do you think we're actually even going to know?
No, I
I don't think we're going to know either.
I don't, but I think
We've only been doing elections for how long?
forever.
And how long have
17.
So when this happened in November of 2020, was it there like a guess of when this was going to happen again, or did we know exactly when the next election was going to happen?
Yeah.
We kind of knew exactly when,
Kind
right?
of.
But somehow they haven't figured out that,
Do you guys stay?
we used to never need more days.
Are you
than
going to stay
now.
up tonight and watch the news?
No,
You're not?
no.
Oh, I have to. I don't know why.
It's just so odd to me that
It's like such
Dude, it's-
such political theater. You
it's
just can't help it.
2024 and we've gone backwards. We used to finish elections on Tuesday in November every time. Now it's, we might need 3 extra days. We might need 2 weeks. But how? It's 2024.
I know.
It's like so frustrating because there's so many things in flux until you know.
Do you think 2 weeks?
The word on I don't. Who knows? Nobody knows shit. So who knows? Like some people are saying, Pennsylvania's going to need 2 weeks, and it's all going to come down to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Was it Florida?
Is that actually true?
Florida was the one last time, right? Where it went on
No.
forever and ever.
That was, I think that was a while back.
2
if I remember
elections
correctly.
ago. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, last year was Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
They went 2 weeks late.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting.
Hopefully we'll know.
We've only known for 4 years that this was happening again. And it's 2024. So like how have we not figured out how to do this on the day we say this is going to happen?
The funny thing about current day and age with social media is just all the influx of like all the little, just all the things, all the little conspiracies. Like I saw one yesterday. This guy's like, "Hey, if you see a ballot that looks like this, make sure you turn it in and ask for a new ballot." It was like a little black dot in another candidate's box,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Hey, this will void your vote," And that one I saw it multiple times, and I'm like, people never heard. I never heard of this before, but then all of a sudden,
Everyone's an expert. That's what social
there's
media.
So much drama.
Everyone is a perfect human and expert.
A lot of drama.
Yeah.
The only thing I hope we know tomorrow, so I have a meeting already scheduled with Howell, CRWM folks.
Oh,
at
I hope
8
we know
8 a.m.
that.
tomorrow for Proposition 127 status. So hopefully it's going to be a check-in, talk about coast-to-coast connection results, analyzing it, and then whatever happens, still moving forward on still protecting anything else.
Everything
on
that's been
wildlife.
said, Colorado would be known today, right? Because Nevada, I think, is going to be known today.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is just, not obviously presidential.
No,
This
no,
is
no.
like the other
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Like
they're
all of
smaller.
the state
Yeah,
stuff
state
in
stuff.
Nevada
You don't
is
think they'll know
supposed to be
today,
done
do you?
today.
Really? Dude, they won't know today though.
Nevada, we should know.
Do you think we won't have a decision on that? I wouldn't anticipate.
We had 7
Oh, sure.
questions in the state of Nevada, like state props in Nevada, and we will know tonight at 5 in Nevada what they all
Really?
did.
Even with the mail-ins?
Oh, I think that's a good point.
That's
'Cause
the
I
only,
think-
that's the only
I
thing
think
that makes, that's the only
mail-ins
thing
said
that makes all
November
this
8th.
stuff tricky to fully know.
I think you're
Like,
right, actually,
You could
Brady.
probably have like a % error of like, okay, there could be potentially
Yeah,
X.
I
still
think
come-
you're right because the mail-in said something about November 8th. So
They
you
must
might be
run.
right.
They must run those through a Scantron, right? Or some sort of
The old
machine.
Scantron.
The old Scantron. You guys remember that?
D.
The ACT
And then
test?
work it backwards.
Yeah, the old- the old Scantrons.
CBA.
I can't imagine they're not hand counting those. I wouldn't think. I just hope we know within a reasonable amount of time. A few days would be great.
We've always known on Tuesday, the first Tuesday.
Yeah.
So how that's not happening
Hey, well,
now in 20, we've only
it's-
gotten further progressed.
It's
so.
2024, Lorenzo. Things take longer.
Oh yeah, for sure. That makes total sense to me. That things take longer.
We're making extra sure. That's what it is.
Okay.
Checks and balances. Checks and balances.
The Florida one, wasn't that a recount? That wasn't like they didn't know the results. That was just
No,
a
it was
recount.
a recount because it was close, but I remember
Yeah.
it dragging on forever.
But now we don't even know. This isn't a recount. It's like you don't even know the results.
Well, I'm going to stay up tonight and watch.
You're not going to know anything.
I know, but I'm going to stay up and listen to the analysis.
I'm going to load some ammo.
I was listening to NPR yesterday, of all things, which we know is like left leaning, right? So
Yeah.
NPR, they had an expert. He thinks it's going to be a Republican sweep. So he thinks that Republican will win the presidency. They'll have control of the House and the Senate.
How do we know he's an expert?
He's on NPR, dude.
Yeah, well, guy's an expert.
Yeah, he's on NPR, and those guys know. I mean,
Right.
it's got to be true if NPR's
It has
saying
to be
that
true.
Republicans are going to win.
It's like if you read something on the internet, it's
Gonna
just
win
so
out.
true.
I
Or
do-
if you see something from a guy in a suit on a major network, it has to be true, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no bias in that. He's wearing a suit.
For sure. I'm going to start wearing a suit on the podcast.
Then nobody can
It's
question you.
like Lex Friedman, just black suit,
all the
black
time.
tie.
That guy
you
does
should.
have some style.
like Men in Black.
You should.
What do you got, Brady?
I
One
do
more?
have one more thing. I was hoping to try to get to it before we jumped into random stuff, but I failed. But I do have one question I want to ask you on similarities and differences between bow hunting mule deer in August, September, and then November. Because obviously August, September, you're kind of
Yeah.
like waiting for bucks to bed,
Mhm.
putting a stock on them. How's that tactic different than November timeframe hunting bucks?
Same type of tactics. I would say it's just spot and stock, but I would say in that November time frame, I feel a lot better about putting stocks on, deer that are like up moving and feeding, because it just doesn't
Yeah.
feel like they're covering nearly as much ground as they might in August. Like they
Mhm.
might get up and really move. There's just they're a lot dumber in November. Their senses are down.
Yeah.
Like a mule deer.
Hormones are up.
Brady,
Senses
I
are
don't mean
down.
to hurt your feelings, but I'll say this, and I'll say it with conviction. I don't think that there's a dumber animal than a rutting mule deer buck.
I could say the same thing about a bull elk.
No.
Going and
You don't-
screaming,
No.
announcing your location, everything. It's like
No.
it's like a frat party.
Bro,
so
drive-
annoying.
Dude,
Drive through a town, like a mountain town in November.
Drive through Estes Park in
You can't
September.
hunt
Look
them
how
there.
look how dumb they are.
You can't hunt them there.
a bull elk.
It's like Yellowstone. You can't hunt them there. You literally pick a mountain town in Colorado. You can hunt them anywhere they go, and just drive through the middle of town. You can drive right up to them.
A bull elk in the rut, you will call in if he sees you or smells you.
It's
He's
over.
gonzo, and the chances of finding him again are pretty tough. But a mule deer buck, like you can get away with some stuff with a mule deer buck in November.
They're so much better.
Dude, they get completely preoccupied with does,
Yeah.
and that's like basically all that matters to them. The hardest part about hunting deer in November with a bow is all the other eyes and ears.
Yeah.
So,
Which is what you have with elk, though, too.
in
In the rut.
which is true, but
Better eyes and better nose on those cows.
yeah, that's the hardest part. But as far as the bucks go themselves, they're a different animal in November than they are in
Oh, sure.
August. I
The
think
shit that I have seen driving out of town to go hunting in Colorado, like of just bucks.
Mhm.
I've never had like a big buck, I will say that. You know what I mean? But like you'll be driving a county road and it's like, oh, if he walks right there, we can kill him in 5 minutes.
Again, he's a town buck. He's smart. He knows how to evade pressure. So
Yeah.
he's like,
I mean, that buck that I killed, if you take that same situation into August or September, there's no way
No
that buck
chance.
is
Yeah.
even letting me get out of the
Yeah.
vehicle. Like they're
Yeah.
gone. They're a different animal. I think in August, September, mule deer buck, especially a big mature buck with a bow, is probably the
hardest thing.
hardest animal to kill.
I agree.
In my
I
opinion.
would fully agree with that.
but I would say that's why I want to touch on the tactics. Like tactics are kind of totally different. You're stalking in
Mhm.
November bucks that are on their feet more. You're not like, oh,
Yep.
we'll wait for his buck to bed because he probably might not bed.
He
And
may,
if he does
not.
bed,
If
he's
he
going to
does, he
bed
may
for
not.
15
Yeah.
minutes. He's going to get up and move. So you might as well just go after
August,
him.
September on their feet, your really only chance is if they're using a saddle or
Yeah.
they're like using a rimrock cliff to
Yeah,
go to
really,
bedding.
the only play you have is when
That's
they are
the only
bedded.
play
Yeah.
on their feet.
Yeah, I just want to show some tips
Sorry.
and tactics out there for some folks.
Sorry, Brady. I didn't mean to make you sad.
No, I mean, mule deer are always going to be better.
I mean, they do get really dumb in November, though.
Elk are really dumb for announcing their location to the whole world.
Yeah, but at least they have enough sense to run away after that.
Not a lot of them.
There is something really special though about mule deer in the rut. They're a cool animal. They're fun.
They're
to
so
hunt in
fun
the
to
rut.
watch rut.
I wish there were more archery rut hunts around.
You know, Omar and I were talking about that on our drive home from my oryx hunt, New Mexico. I wish there was enjoyable, like that tag you had. Very low pressure, very few hunters, great hunting, lots of deer.
Yep, easy, low key, type 1 fun.
And you know, in Nevada, we don't have hardly any November hunts. Like none.
There's not many. There's some.
There's those
not a
little
lot.
few, like the one you had, and you know, a little few that go into November 4th, whatever.
Yep.
But wouldn't it be a great state to add little 5-day archery hunt somewhere?
I mean,
November 15th through 20th.
Yeah,
all these prime units.
or my home state of Utah.
Or Utah's another great one.
We're going to talk mule deer plan in Utah, but I mean,
That's actually a really good one because the rifle ends before November.
yeah, and they added the muzzleloader hunts on the back end of the rifle hunt as a limited entry hunt on general season units, which is okay. It's fine, but like I think you could do some late season archery, like true rut November hunts with a bow. I think you could probably clean out even more of those limited entry point holders.
Yeah,
That's where I would jump immediately.
Oh, I'd be all over that.
Like in Nevada too, I wouldn't be applying for any of the August hunts.
yeah, it would be fun to hunt bucks.
August
in the
bow
rut with
hunts.
the bow.
Yeah,
If some of these
In more
premier
states.
units
for sure.
had like a November 15th through 20th bow hunt, whew.
I might even come out of retirement for that.
You dust off the bow.
Yeah.
Nice. That would be fun. Yeah, I wish some more states would offer some limited entry, some opportunities. You couldn't give like a ton of tags. It couldn't be like the old days when the muzzleloader hunt was right in the prime of the rut.
We're not saying a lot of tags.
Yeah, not a lot of
Just
tags,
the
but like
opportunity.
it's another opportunity to get some guys in the field
Archery
And I
hunting.
just
Yeah,
like to
archery hunting.
clean out the point system too.
and help with point creep.
Yeah.
Yep, I think it'd be dope. Anyway, long and short, watch the film. Apply in Nevada. Apply in Nevada. Watch the film and look for Black Friday
Yep.
and use the promo code podcast
Yes.
Yep.
and get an insider count.
Yep.
And with that, we will.
And we will know the exact outcome and details today at 4 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Pacific of the NFL trade deadline. Who went where? We don't know
Not even
exactly what happened.
Didn't even know that was happening. Not concerned.
We will
Don't
know
care.
exactly what's happened.
There you go.